Well, guys, how's she going today? So she's getting cool out, especially here in the woods. Just got done picking some corn. That's about all I'm going to get for the year. 6. There would have been more, but there's a couple of corns that weren't done, and I think one of them had, a couple of them were starting to get mold on them. So I'm just going to bury that back in the garden. But I think next year, I think we're going to plant just, like, I call it cattle corn, because we're just going to grow it for the cows. We're not going to really garden for ourselves anymore. It doesn't really pay off. So, and it's a waste of time, seal. If it's cattle corn, you can just put it in and forget it. Come back in spring or back in fall and pick it. It's not going to be for us. It's going to be for the cows. But we still got potatoes that we need to look at. They haven't gotten any bigger since like August, so I don't really know what the problem is. So I don't know if we'll get much for potatoes either, but this gardening season's been kind of a disaster. So yeah, I just mowed down here too. Last time I mowed, and she's growing pretty good in here again. But yeah, anyways, my uncle, he tested the starter on the green truck, and it was a no-go. But he did it without me, so I don't really know exactly what the hell happened. I'm sure he knows quite a bit about these trucks as well, but I don't know. He said that he didn't get anything, but the lights came on, the headlights came on except one, but that's probably because the bulb blew out. And he said the gauges moved. Or the fuel gauge moved anyway, but that's because there's there's about 1.5 gallons in there. So yeah, it's going to bounce a little bit, but the temperature gauge and the idle, I think it's actually the oil pressure gauge. I think those are screwed up because the temperature gauge is stuck in hot, and the oil pressure one is stuck about in the middle. So I'm not really too sure what's wrong with those. It could just be bad gauges too, right? So good luck finding any original ones for those trucks. But he says that he got nothing at the starter, not a click, not a nothing. And he was thinking maybe because this truck is push button to start it, he thinks that maybe the push button switch is dead. It's no good. And I pulled it out. I looked at the wiring. So there's only 2 wires that go to it, and they looked okay. Like there's a little bit of surface rust, but it ain't terrible. So I'm just kind of wondering. This would be a question for Roosty Sticks because he knows more about these fucking trucks than anybody. Do these trucks have I guess it would be like a safety thing in the clutch? Because the 1586 is that way too. It won't start unless the clutch is pushed in. But I think there's supposed to be a safety neutral switch or something. I don't really know what the hell they call them, where that kind of lets you override that, so you don't have to push the clutch in. Because when I first bought that tractor, I didn't have to push the clutch in to start it. It would start as long as you had it in neutral or park. It would start. But now I have to push the clutch in no matter what to start it. But that's some kind of I think a safety thing that these tractors have. But I'm wondering if maybe these older trucks have something like that too, because maybe that's why it's not starting. Everything else works except the starter. So I have no clue. I'm sure I could find a push button, but who knows if it's a push button? It could be the key switch. Could be the other little switch, because I think it's like a freaking 3-step process to get these things to start. You gotta turn the key ignition on. Then I think you gotta flip a little lever, and then you got the push button to start it. It's not like today where you can just turn the key and you're good. It's not simple with these trucks. So, but I'm sure my uncle remembered to switch the little toggle switch on. But I don't know if maybe these trucks have a safety thing in the clutch where you can't start it unless the clutch is actually pushed in. I guess Richie Six will have to let me know because he's got trucks that are pretty fucking close to what I have. I think he's got an R-160, which would be obviously kind of a big jump up from what I have. Mine's an L-130. So it's kind of like the lower end of the trucks, you know. It's kind of a, or at least like a half ton or a 1 ton. I think they're a 1 ton, but I don't know. Or they could be a half ton. I don't really know what they're rated for, but they're heavy enough. I mean, they'll move some weight if you need them to. But I don't know if there's any way I can test the push button switch with a multimeter, because I have one of those. My uncle's got one too, but mine's a little more fancier. I don't know how, because I got mine for pretty damn cheap on Harbor Freights, but it's a little bit higher end than his. His is more just low tech. But see, I think on my multimeter, it has a function on there where you can like test the wires to see. Well, there's 2 things that I use. One is that if it's completing a circuit, what's that thing, that the alarm goes off, and that tells you that you have a complete circuit. So I'm wondering if maybe if I did that with the toggle switch, if maybe that would tell me if it's working or not, either by, you know, like connecting it and then maybe pushing the button to see if it, because I think once you push the button in, that should technically complete the circuit because you're connecting everything together then. That's the way I'm seeing it. I'm just explaining stuff to you in a stupid way, but there's probably a fancier, high-tech way of explaining that, but I don't know it. I know it only in the stupid ways. So I don't know. I checked the wiring, you know. The wiring looks fine. I mean, it's old wiring. It's 1950s fucking wiring, so it's all original. So it was all hooked up. Nothing was broken. There was one wire that was broken on, like, in the engine, but I think that went to a coil. I think they call that thing. I'm not 100% sure, but it's like a big long metal tube kind of thing. It's mounted on the driver's side of the engine, right at the very top. I'm not really sure what that does, but I think it's a coil, but I'm not really 100% sure on that. That could be bad as well, but that's where one of the wires are broken, and I fixed that. I put a new end on it. So I'm not really sure what else to do. We're not going to get it running this year, though, because I'm not going to have money to go buy switches and doodads and shit like that. Especially when I have to buy hydraulic hoses now for the 1586. You know, so, and I imagine they're going to be, if you go to Case IH, they're going to be way more, but I think if I went to the other dealers, repair shops, they could probably get you a little bit of a better deal, but then again, they could charge you a fortune too. I don't know, but it's more convenient anyway if they could do it, you know, then just because it's close to home, I don't have to run all the way to fucking Case IH twice, because that's not going to happen. We're only going once a month. You know, if I had my own vehicle, it wouldn't be a problem, but basically, since I'm borrowing my grandma's vehicles, technically, you know, there's a limit. I'm not going to be able to drive that thing to Florida or Texas or anything stupid like that. She just wouldn't allow it, right? So, it's her stuff. So, but, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss with the grain truck. It's not going to run this year. So, I could order a new switch, push button switch, but when you push it in, you can hear a little click, and I'm thinking that's probably a good thing, but that click probably doesn't mean anything either. That's just what it does. So I have no clue what else to really do, because I have limited funds, of course, and you know, other stuff, so not really sure what else to do. I mean, the main thing is we got the engine broke free. It's not seized. So it should take another couple of years before the engine will decide to seize back up again. So I have no clue what else to really do. I could, like I said, well, for the multimeter, because I got off track about that. The first way, like I said, was that you can have that, set it to a setting where if it completes a circuit, you can do that with a piece of wire. That'll tell you if the wire is good, if it completes that circuit. You know, if the power goes from one end and goes through and comes back to the multimeter. But then there's another one where I think that tells you the resistance in the wire, and I don't know if that's another thing I could use. Because I think I'm not really good with multimeters. I've watched a video about them, but that was a couple of years ago. I don't really remember now how these things work, but I think if you use the resistant setting, that tells you how much resistance is in the wire. I think that kind of tells you if the wire is still good or not. Well, I think higher the number is, I think the worse the wire is, I think. So meaning it's a bad wire. Or it could be the complete opposite too. I don't really fucking know, but I don't know if it would just be simpler to, deer coming out. I don't know if it would just be simpler to take the multimeter to it and set it to that alarm setting. I forget what they really call that stupid thing, but it, like I said, if it completes the circuit, if the power can go all the way through it, that's completing a circuit, then the alarm will go off, and that tells you that it's functional, it's working. I don't know if that would work or not, or because I got a multimeter, I haven't used it in probably about a good year, close to a year now. Because I was using it quite a bit there on Big Red when Big Red's battery was acting up. Which, by the way, is a funny story about this guy. Ever since he went to the repair shop and got fixed, I no longer have that issue of the battery draining dead. Or not wanting... Because if Big Red sits for a day or so, I can't start it. It's like it's got a dead battery. So I always have to jump start it. Or I always have to keep the battery tender on it to keep the battery fully charged. But I'm kind of wondering if it maybe... Because it was throwing error codes at the time. And he deleted those and fixed, I guess, whatever was wrong. But he didn't charge me anything for it. He didn't even say. So I'm kind of wondering if it just wasn't something internal. You know... I don't know. He didn't say, so I have no fucking clue. But now I've gone all summer and I have not plugged this battery in once. So the battery's still good because it's obviously doing its thing. Could have been the CB. Maybe when the CB was on there, maybe it was draining power. But usually when they're off, they don't drain that much power. I know that one of my warning light switches is disconnected again because it's the front one. The front light bar doesn't come on, so there's a wire broken again. But I really need to redo that anyway because the wiring is way too fucking short and you just can't reach the switches very well. So before winter, I should rip all that back apart and add like another 2 inches of wiring to it just to get them up to where they're, easy to access. So I guess what I could do, I don't think the switches are waterproof, but I guess that wouldn't work. No. Well, they got these little things here. Right here, these little tabs. Of course, you can't do anything with them, but I guess right here too, I know that on the 550s, this is where your differential lock would be. And then I suppose this would just be nothing. But I guess if the switches are small enough, they almost could fit right in here. If I really felt like tearing that all apart, which I kind of really don't. But I guess I could, but I don't really feel like it. So... yeah, I don't know. I guess if anybody has any ideas what I can do with the grain truck, Should I take the multimeter to it, I guess, and see if it completes a circuit or not? See if the alarm goes off. So I don't really know. Because he did it when I wasn't here at the farm. So I don't really know. He just said his starter didn't do a damn thing. It didn't even click or nothing. If it was a bad starter, you think it would still click, like it would still kind of like come on, but it just wouldn't really do anything. It wouldn't spin fast enough to really do anything. It would just kind of, I suppose, it would just more or less grind than anything else. Because I've heard bad starters on other videos. I watch a couple of YouTubers that they get old clunkers like, you know, like what I'm doing. They get old cars up and running again. And if a starter is bad, it still comes on, but it doesn't connect to the engine. It doesn't engage the motor. It doesn't spin the motor. It just grinds, or it just sounds really bad, you know. And this apparently does nothing, which is telling me dirty ground, bad switch somewhere. I don't really know what else. I mean, I looked at the starter. The connections looked okay. Like, they're not covered in grease. They're not black. They're not super rusty. You know, they look like it's good enough to start. So, what do you guys think? My uncle could be right. It could be the key switch. It could be the push button switch, or it could be the toggle switch. Either one of those was bad. And I took the push button switch off because that was the easiest thing to take off. And I looked at the wiring connections. There's only 2 wire connections on that. They looked okay. I mean, there's a little bit of, it looked like surface rust, but I don't really know. It could have just been some kind of a paint, but it looked okay to me. But it could be an internal problem. You know, it could be something inside the switch that's bad. So I don't know if I should grind, if I should, you know, look for a freaking 6-volt. Well, it doesn't have to. Well, I don't know. Push button switch. If I can find something in a 6-volt range, it'd be all right. But I imagine if 12-volt would work too. Just wouldn't get the full 12-volt. It just gets 6 volts. But I don't know. It would have been nice to have, you know. I'm just praying that it would have done it, but sounds like this is going to be a money pit. But sitting for fucking, what, 30 years? 1986 is when it was parked, so it's 2020 now. She's been sitting all my life, and I'm 20... I think I'll be 29. I think I'm 28 now, so I'll be 20. I don't even know how fucking old I am. Dude, you can see how I don't really care about my age anymore. Trust me, when you get above 20, you kind of stop fucking caring. I'm clearly past that now, where I don't care anymore. All I know is I'm one day closer to being 6 feet under the fucking ground, so yeah. So I don't really know. But I know the key switch definitely has a lot of wires going to it. But again, how would you test a key switch too? Because one wire's got to be a ground or something, you know, and then one's got to be the wire that sends the electricity to the other stuff that tells the starter that, hey, come on, turn on, you know. So I don't really know. I mean, I could replace the key switch, the push button, and the toggle switch, replace all that, and still probably get nothing. You know, that's telling you there that then maybe it's that little round cylinder looking kind of thing. I think I have no clue what it is, but I think it's a coil. Not really sure. Probably should have taken a picture of it, but too lazy. I'm not going back there now to do that. So, but it's been in my previous videos. I'm sure I've gotten videos of it. So, just not really sure what the fuck it is. It's fun. I mean, the truck gets power because my uncle said that the headlights came on, but he says the switch is messed up. He says you have to pull the switch just right and hold it. You know, you got to turn it just right. So that's telling me the truck's going to need new switches as well. And, well, it's going to need... Well, you ain't going to know about the rest of the switches. I mean, I don't know what the wiper switches are like because it doesn't have wipers. And, well, never had to use them because the truck's not driving. So, not really going to know. I'm not going to really worry about wipers or headlights or anything like that because the main thing is just to get this damn thing running and moving on its own power. So I can figure out what the hell else is going on. And the fuel pump that's on that truck, well, Reese6 said it would be next to the fuel bowl, which I looked and I didn't really see anything, but it might be that round thing. I'm not really 100% sure, but my uncle said that wouldn't come on with the key. He says that would come on, I think, when the truck's actually running. I suppose it's one of those mechanical fuel pumps. It's not the electric type, not like what we have today. I think that's what Big Red has too. It's an electric fuel pump. So, that comes on with the key. As soon as you turn the key on, everything, that powers up. Whereas this apparently wouldn't do that. It would turn on when the truck is running. So, in other words, I don't think... Well, maybe it would eventually pump fuel if the engine's spinning fast enough, but 6 volts kind of slow. So I might have to once we do figure out, I guess, how to get this damn thing to start, figure out what's the problem, probably would have to fill up the fuel bowl just so it had something to pull fuel from. I don't really know, but I'm not going to really worry about it too much. Freaking mosquitoes. So I don't know if anybody, I guess, has any ideas, I guess, to maybe tell me, to tell me what to do. I guess let me know. I mean, would the multimeter tell me something if I set it to that alarm setting or the complete circuit setting? I guess whatever. I don't really know the fancy name for them, but I don't know if not all multimeters have that. I know my uncle says that his doesn't have that, but it has something similar to it, but it doesn't have the alarm on it. See, mine's got the alarm. So if it completes a circuit, the power flows through everything, through the wire fine, it'll scream at me. That's how you know that the wire or whatever you're testing is still good. So I'm wondering if maybe that would work. Take the switch out, hook the multimeter to it, and then push the button and see if it completes a circuit. If it does, then it'll beep, and then you'll know the switch is good, but I don't know. I'm going to try that, but I'll try that tomorrow. But you guys can tell me what you think anyway, but I'll try it anyway. By the time you guys see this video, I'll already be at the farm trying it, but I mean, whatever you guys can pick up for information, it would help. Just remember, I'm an idiot, so if you use fancy words, I'm probably not going to know what the fuck you're talking about. So when it comes to me, you got to kind of talk like a retard. That's about the only way you're going to explain stuff to me. Or you got to make a video on it. But other than that, I don't really know. The sun's going down a lot sooner now. Stupid. September's right around the damn corner. No, it'll be here tomorrow, actually. So, and they're saying September's going to be a little bit of a cooler month than normal. Which, I don't know, I think it was fairly cool last year too, so I don't know whether people are retarded. But, I don't know. If you guys have any ideas, I guess throw them at me. Let me know what I could do. Let me try. I guess tell me what I could try. I guess the only thing I can try is hooking the multimeter to it and seeing if it completes a circuit. And if it does, then that's telling me that the switch is good. But that's the only way I can figure stuff out. So, I'm not really sure what else. Because I tugged on all the wiring for all the switches. I tugged on every wire. And all of them were still connected. Wonder what jumped across. A squirrel. Must be a squirrel. Whatever. But yeah, so if you guys can, I guess, give me any ideas, I guess let me know. And yeah. You can tell that they're combining their wheat over there. I can hear them running. So, because it's beyond wheat harvest time now. Pretty soon they're going to be harvesting their soybeans and their canola, and I don't think anybody around here planted corn this year. Not around here anyway. Maybe a little further south they did. I don't really know. I know the young guy was saying too that people around here shouldn't even be planting corn because it never really gets done in time. That's more of a southern crop. But people who are doing it, but they're harvesting their shit in the fucking snow. So, whatever. But yeah, so guys, I guess I'm going to take off. So I guess have a good day and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take her easy.